Let's talk about that because the majority of us think that we can put that much effort into everything. And then we don't realize why we're so mentally and emotionally exhausted. We don't realize why one thing is working in our life, but 90 other percent of our life is really kind of falling apart. Kind of walk us through that, maybe an identification of how we start realizing maybe our focus is off here.
I do think the focus is off.
Yeah.
And it's in large part because we have this mentality that we can have it all, which
Mhm.
I think is in theory and spirit is a lovely idea. But
Right.
when it comes to practical, like into reality, for those folks who have aspirations of raising kids or having a career or becoming the best at a hobby or whatever it is, you can't, there's only so much resource that you have.
Right.
And when people try to have it all, they're doing either a little bit for everything and it's not
Right.
really doing enough for any one thing, or they're neglecting things. And so
Mhm.
I often tell people the strategy that works best is to identify what your values are and what's important to you. Sometimes that means other people's values because you might find your relationship valuable, but
Right.
ultimately you want to make sure that you're making those choices about what you pursue and what you prioritize based on those values.
Mm.
That will, in a sense, give you a compass for what needs your effort and what you can sideline and what you don't need to put effort
Mm.
into.
Right. I love that sideline. It made me think of I had a lady come in and she was talking about the perfectionism in her life and how, she other people were telling her that she was a perfectionist, but she didn't think so. And I said, "Well, okay, do me a favor, grab a piece of paper, and I want you to write out your to-do list for today." And
Mhm.
it's front and back. And I said, "What's the likelihood of you getting all of these things done?" And she's like, "Oh, 100%." I said, "From what hour to what hour are we doing this?" Right. So for me, it's a really good target, right? Like if that list is so accumulative that there's no possible way. I'm like, maybe our focus is a little off here and we do need a sideline. Thoughts on that kind of like easy example of, being able to identify where we are?
That's a great example. And then the question I will immediately ask them is you might be able to get that all done, but
Mm.
what's the opportunity cost? What is
Yeah.
the social capital you just burned with the people around you because you weren't
Right.
around? Or
Yeah.
what's the cost to your sleep and health if you're missing sleep? That's usually
Hmm.
the first thing to go.
Right.